and happy Friday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kay, and it's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by See-Through Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractors Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. Today is the day we're going to recap the #1 costliest storm of 2022. So we'll talk about that, and then today it should be a quiet day. We're not expecting anything in terms of severe weather today, but we're going to take a look at next week to see if there is anything worth watching. So stay tuned. But before we get into our forecast, we do have a few events coming up. The first one is in Aurora, Colorado on January 26th. So this is less than a week away. This is the CRA trade show at the Arapahoe County Fairgrounds. So if you're going to the show, make sure you come on by and say hi to us there. And then next we have the Storm Restoration Contractor SRC Summit. That will be down in Dallas from the 29th through the 31st. If you haven't signed up yet, but you're interested in going, we do have a promo code. It's HAIL. So make sure you come on by and say hi to us there as well if you're going to that trade show. So here is our #1 storm of the year in terms of costs. I don't think it's any surprise that it is Hurricane Ian, and we're going to recap some of the stats on him. So he did make a few landfalls. The first one was in Cuba, and then the second landfall actually was in the U.S. in southwestern Florida, and then made a third landfall in South Carolina near Charleston. So the strongest winds that were actually officially recorded were up to 140 miles per hour, and that was recorded near Punta Gorda, Florida. And it dropped a lot of rain. It dropped over 20 inches of rain in some areas and caused surge of 10 to 15 feet. And the total damages was a little over $112 billion. So it was no competition in terms of what the #1 storm was going to be. And in terms of overall, in terms of hurricanes and all that fun stuff, it was the second largest insured loss on record, and that was second to Katrina. So we do have a few stats here. Again, it did make its first landfall in Cuba. The second landfall was just to the west of Fort Myers in a small island area called Cayo Costa. And the max sustained winds when it did make landfall was at 150 miles per hour. That made it a very high-end Category 4. And the timeline for this, for making landfall here in Florida, as well as when it made its second landfall in Charleston, was between September 28th through the 30th. And if I step out of the way here a little bit, you can see it caused a lot of damage across southwestern Florida, as well as, here and there, of course, because it was still a hurricane, as it made its track northeast across central Florida and then made its third landfall in Charleston, South Carolina. So that's our #1 storm of 2022. And here are our current conditions across the lower 48. Relatively quiet today across most of the country. Some exceptions, though, are the wintry mess, I guess you can say, in the northeast, associated with that system that did bring a little bit of severe weather yesterday in Ohio. Not too crazy, though. That could be good or bad news, depending on if you're a homeowner or roofer or whatever. But yeah, lots of snow is falling here across the northeast. Some rain, though, in the warmer parts of the northeast as well. And then going down south into Texas, we have some showers as well as some heavier rain just to north of Houston. Now, zooming back on out, taking a look at our current temperatures, you can see where that trailing cold front is. It is 47 in New York, but you go further south, it's still 83 in Miami. And then you go north it gets pretty chilly out there. It's below freezing in Minneapolis. It's 26 right now and only 20 in Denver. So if you want some warmer weather or if you want to get some work done, you have to basically be in the far southeastern part of the country or in Texas, because otherwise it is chilly out there. And here are our wind chills. It feels like 18 in Minneapolis, 26 in Fort Wayne. But of course, if you want that warmer weather, you have to go to Florida. So here are our watches and warnings across the country. Again, not as crazy as it was a few days ago, but we still have a few areas where we're experiencing some winter weather. We have some winter weather advisories and some winter storm warnings out for parts of Maine down to western and central Massachusetts through this evening, or we can see anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of snow there. And then going out to the western part of the U.S., we have some more winter storm warnings, more winter weather advisories. We have a winter storm watch out for parts of northern Montana, as well as some high wind watches. We can get a little blustery out there as we get into this weekend. And then we even have some freeze warnings and some hard freeze warnings out for parts of California down into Arizona. Yeah, not too shabby. But in terms of severe weather, we don't expect anything today. Again, we don't really have any instability and any major systems with that, to tap into that instability and moisture and all that fun stuff. So it should be quiet today. And then getting into tomorrow, same deal. We're not expecting anything in terms of severe weather. But in terms of winter weather, we have plenty of it in a few parts of the U.S. So from now through tomorrow afternoon, there are a few areas that will be experiencing some heavier snow. The first one, again, is here in the eastern parts of Colorado, eastward into parts of Kansas, where we have those winter storm warnings out. From now through tomorrow, we can expect anywhere from 4 to 6, and then 8 to 10 even in those purple areas. And then if I step out of the way and go to the northeast, again, we have some winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories out there as well, where we can see 2 to 4 inches of snow in parts of the northeast there, and then some more snow out in the northwest. Now, as we go from Saturday into Sunday, you can see we could experience some lighter snow totals here across the Great Lakes and into the northeast, as we're expecting some heavier rain down in the south for our Saturday and into Sunday. That will be tracking off to the northeast, bringing us some more snow there. And we could get some heavier precipitation in terms of snow in the northwest. And then getting into Monday, we could add a little bit to those totals in those areas. So let's break it on down here as we look at our future jet stream. So again, it's quiet today. That system that was causing that severe weather a few days ago is now moving off to the northeast, bringing that wintry weather down or up into the northeast. And here comes our next trough, starting to dig on south into the desert southwest. As we get into tomorrow, it'll start to move off to the east. Again, we could get some heavier precipitation down in parts of the south, but no severe weather is expected for that. But as we get into Sunday, you can see the tilt of this is starting to become a little bit more neutral and not as positively tilted. So we may have to watch parts of the southeast as it moves off to the east on Sunday evening. And then Monday, we should be mostly quiet, but this third trough will start to dig on south and possibly kick into some moisture and instability as we get into our Tuesday. So unfortunately, once again, we got to watch parts of the Mississippi Valley for another shot of severe weather on Tuesday, and then that will continue to dig off to the south and bringing some more cold air from our friends in Canada down into most of the U.S. as we get into our Wednesday and into the beginning of our Thursday. So let's take a look at our future radar. This is starting tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we have those winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories out for parts of Kansas and Colorado, and this is why we are expecting some heavier snow to fall there. Then that system that's been affecting us for severe weather a few days ago is going to start to make its way on out. But as we get into Saturday and into Sunday, we are expecting some heavier rain across the south. And then we got to watch parts of the southeast for our Sunday for the potential of severe weather. I'll show you that area that we'll be watching in just a moment. But snow on the colder sides, we could get a few inches with that. But then we have that third system that will be kicking out of the Rockies, bringing us some more snow there for areas such as Denver, and then make its way on to the south. We could get some white stuff here in Oklahoma City. We're still a few days out, so things can change, but we'll be watching this pretty carefully. But then as we get from early Tuesday, getting into Tuesday night, you can see those yellows and oranges here. We could get some severe weather again in the Mississippi Valley down into Louisiana as we get into Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening. So this will be the second system that we'll be watching for Sunday, and then getting into Tuesday and maybe into Wednesday. So here are our dew points. Again, pretty dry across most of the U.S. The only exceptions are down into central and southern Florida and way southern Texas. Otherwise, it's pretty dry out there. And as we get into tomorrow, we will start to see a little bit of a moisture return. And then as we get into Sunday, we need to keep an eye on parts of northern Florida down into parts of southern Georgia, westward into southern Alabama for the chance of severe weather with that system. And then that one will move on out, and then we will reset as we get into Monday night and into Tuesday afternoon. You can see the spin here in central Texas. So we'll have a dry line setting on up, and you can see the moisture return here for parts of eastern Texas and into Louisiana. And it will start to move off to the east on our Tuesday evening. So again, we will be watching the southeast and the Mississippi Valley areas closely as we get into the end of the weekend and into the beginning of next week for a few rounds of severe weather. So here's our instability. Not a whole lot as we begin. This is for Sunday at 9 a.m. Central, so 10 a.m. Eastern. But there is a little bit, and it hasn't taken a whole lot of instability for any of those robust storms to fire up. So we'll be watching the southeast carefully. Again, basically south of Atlanta, so southern Georgia down to Jacksonville, westward to near the Alabama, Florida panhandle border for our Sunday. And then getting into Sunday evening, you can see that instability starts to drop off. But then we get our second chance as we get into our Tuesday. So this is next Tuesday at 7 a.m. Central. Some moisture will start to come on in, or instability, I should say, and moisture as well. And then it will start to track off to the east as we get into our Tuesday and Tuesday evening. And then we'll start to dwindle down as we get into Wednesday morning. So here's our look ahead forecast. This is our area that we'll be watching on Sunday. So basically southern Georgia, eastward into parts of southern South Carolina, down into the panhandle of Florida, Jacksonville, westward to maybe Tallahassee. This will be the area that we'll be watching on Sunday. And then as we get into Tuesday, we'll be watching, unfortunately, some of the same areas that's been getting hit multiple times already for 2023. So the western panhandle of Florida to Alabama, westward to southeastern Mississippi and Louisiana. This will be the area that we'll be watching on Tuesday with that following system. So quiet right now, but we could see some action as we get into the end of our weekend and into the beginning of the next week. So if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on Twister. That's close enough to Twitter, right? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as our TikTok page where we've been trying to go live and create some fun content for you guys as well. And if you have any questions, concerns, if you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend.